And a very warm welcome to Make It Happen, episode number 33. And today in the Make It Happen studio, I'm delighted to be joined by Lauren Rosenberg. Lauren has recently released a book, which is the story of how to move forward when the unthinkable happens. It's a story about how she managed to move forward when her daughter suddenly died. And we're going to find out how she coped with that tragic event and also how she's been able to turn her life and the lives of her children around, as well as they've had to cope with the loss of her sister. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Good to see you, and thank you very much for being part of Make It Happen series. You're a bit of a serial expat, so please introduce yourself and tell us where you are at the moment and where you've been and where you've got homes too.
Well, thank you for having me today. So I'm originally from France. My French name is Laurence, but living in the UK, everybody knows me as Lauren. Lived a bit in LA, and then Spain and UK, and moving around a bit.
You have a home in Estepona?
Yes. We love Estepona, and we usually go as soon as we can, and all living in London at the moment, and we're all doing our work online, and thanks to the internet, it seems to be
I can't imagine what this time would have been like without the internet.
No, our poor kids, I think, they wouldn't have an online school, but yes.
So tell the listeners about your book, because actually it's very topical, because it covers fear, which is very topical at the moment.
So that's why I thought it was exactly the right time. At the time a year ago, I thought, okay, why is my book not out? And I was thinking, and I decided that I'm not going to get annoyed or upset, because I thought, right, when the right time comes, the right time comes. And it was the right time. The title of the book is How to Move Forward When the Unthinkable Happens. So, which is exactly what's happened. We didn't expect the lockdown. So, but my book is about my own personal story, about my daughter who 4 years ago, at the age of 20, suddenly became ill and was rushed into hospital, and after 12 days, unfortunately, passed away.
Wow.
She had sudden bleeding in the brain, and that would have been okay, but unfortunately she caught pneumonia in hospital, which created more complications, and as a result, unfortunately, she couldn't be saved, and 12 days in intensive care, and then unfortunately she passed away. It was quite complicated because we had to get involved with court because we didn't want her to be unplugged. So there was quite a lot of legal process involved, so the whole process was very surreal. It was not, things were happening. I stayed with my daughter the whole time. I didn't come home. Some of my other children were able to come to the hospital. Some weren't because of the age, or because they're just too little, or they just couldn't cope with going to the hospital. So that was really unexpected, and it's not something we can change. I still say I have 5 daughters. I have 1 in a special place and 4 with me in the physical world. But it's completely sort of changed our family dynamic, and we all had to go through the process of grief differently, because we're all at different stages, different ages, different things that were going on in our life. And I decided to write a book because all the techniques that I use with my clients, getting rid of their fear, helping them with stress, anxiety, I realized that it really helped us in hospital. We used them when Liora had to go for tests, or when suddenly something went wrong. I used the technique afterwards on my children. My children used the techniques. Then they had the ability to know how to deal with their worries and anxiety at the same time. And I was wondering that how would I have managed if I wouldn't have had that knowledge?
Yeah.
And I think I probably would have been stuck in my room, crying and crying and feeling completely lost and not wanting to come out of my bedroom. And this is the reason why I wanted to write this book, so that anybody out there can have at least something that they know how they can help themselves. So it's like the first part of the book is the story. And yes, from friends and readers, they said it's really, really sad. And yes, I can't change that. I can't change the story, the real story. But the second part is a DIY. It's a self-help book with all the techniques that you can use, so that you can start moving forward. So you can start dealing with the grief and then moving forward. There is a specific chapter on grief, but the book is not about just grief. The book is about how to move forward when something unthinkable happens. So even the lockdown, when something suddenly completely comes in and just completely change your world. So I thought it's important that people know where there are self-help techniques they can use, and they're very much at hand, and they can use them straight away in order to have at least the first help. And that makes a big difference to move forward. So, but obviously everybody has different type, the grief comes into different stages, and it's not because I have all those tools that I didn't cry, that I didn't want, that I didn't need adjusting. But I think having this made me stronger to be able to still want to carry on, and even more so. And life now is, for me, is like, every day is a blessing, and every day is worth living. And I've changed quite a lot of things. I used to work before many hours in the evening, and I've changed all my hours. I've put, I decided what's really what I want to prioritize in my life.
And
Yes.
thank you for sharing your story, because obviously, it's something that all parents would never wish would happen to their children. So thank you.
No, I don't wish it on anyone, and I don't wish it on anyone the way it happened to us, because there was a lot of pressure. After the first day arriving in the hospital, at the beginning we were told that it wasn't such a big thing, it would be fine, but unfortunately things went wrong in the hospital. In that sense, she caught pneumonia by aspiration, and after the second day we were just told blank that tonight your daughter will die, and that was it. And then from then on we decided to fight, and she lived another 10 days. But we had the pressure, we really had the pressure. And there's one thing that I really would not allow, was that any human being would make a decision when my daughter would have to go. If she had to go, that was one thing that I would do anything to not allow anyone to make a human decision to unplug my daughter. Right. So, and then in the story, all the details explain how we managed to actually at least this to happen, so that she passed away with no one, sort of no one interfering in that sense. But it's not something that I wish on anyone. But unfortunately, those things happen. Since Liora passed away, lots of mums get in touch with me, telling me about, their child unfortunately passed away, even earlier years, or miscarriage, or just there's a whole range of things that happen. And each story is a personal story, and it's not because I experienced loss in my own daughter. I can take, every story has their own individual, unique story and feeling, and we have to acknowledge that. And it has also a unique process of dealing with it. But if you know how to work on yourself, and if you know how you can help yourself and your other children, then that will help. And yes, so the fact that I'm an expert in fear and phobia did help, definitely, because the minute I came home, I knew I had to work on myself. I knew that my kids needed help, and my husband needed help. So obviously we all had different therapists and different help also, because we're all different human beings, and everybody is happy to have, you have to connect, and everybody is happy to use a different techniques that they're happy with. But yeah, it made a big difference, I'm sure.
So you've mentioned quite a few times about the your therapy. What therapy is it that you offer? Can you give us a bit more information?
Yeah, so I use a lot of energy-based technique, which means that we have energy in our body. Emotions are energy in motion. And if the energy inside the body flows nicely, everything is working perfectly and you don't feel pain and you don't feel anxious. But when a trauma or something happens, the energy inside the body gets blocked. And that's where I come in. I unblock the energy that's blocking the body in order to release the trapped emotion or the pain in the body, depending what we're working on. And then by releasing it, you no longer have that feeling, like butterfly feeling in your stomach or pain somewhere or anxious or your heart beating fast. All those signs are trapped emotions due to majority of the time due to a situation or a memory that somebody has stored in their body, and we're just releasing it. So it could be using color therapy, could be using EFT, which is pressure points. It could be just me talking and sending colors into the body. Sometimes we go back into the past and release it, but we don't always have to. And it's really important that people know that you don't have to get better or to improve your health by having to go back in the past. I always say that if you have the map of England, if you are in London and you want to go to Glasgow, you don't need to go to Bournemouth first and then go up. You don't need, and it's important that people need to know that they don't have to go back in the past to relive what happened. If they're not ready, if they're not prepared, you can just start from where you are now and then move forward. And that's why color therapy is really good, because you don't have to even mention things and talk about what happened. You just say, okay, where do I feel this feeling in my body? It's in my stomach, it's in my throat, it's in my heart. And then you use a color and you just desensitize it and you just release the energy that's blocked. And then by doing that, you don't, once you're back in the trigger, you don't have those reactions. So for example, for fear of dogs, once you see the dogs again, you don't have to run away or put yourself in danger, because you don't have that energy blocking your body, and then your subconscious mind telling you, well, there's a big danger there, I need to rush, I need to run away. So those are type of technique that I use. They're all energy based.
So how did you actually get involved with energy based techniques in the first place?
So coming from a French background, I was brought up in a very medical environment. So I always saw that if you were ill, you would go to the doctor and take some medicine. So I was very against any holistic techniques. Okay, so I had to have a big shock and something that really had to push me to look into something else. So what happened is that unfortunately, in the UK, we had a carjacking. I was in the car with my 3 daughters, and I was expecting at the time. And luckily, we managed to escape. But this event had a big impact on my children's life and my life. One of my children, after this event, 2 months later, went to a birthday party, ate some crisp, and suddenly starting swelling and ended up rushed into hospital. And we went down the normal route as medical allergy, and then gradually more and more allergy came up, and her whole body sort of seemed to be shutting down, and she couldn't even get out of bed. And as she was getting older, there was more and more consultants piling up. So when it came to, we had at that time we already had 8 consultants. When it came to another consultant coming in and a new one, and the number 9, I said, look, that's it. It's been, I think, probably 2 years where we've been trying to allow her to eat without pain and to be able to get up with no headaches and no heart beating fast. And when she had to go to school trips, she had to have a whole bag full of medication, and I had to have a meeting beforehand, and there was a whole. So I thought, that's it. I'm just literally discharging her, and I'm going to look for something else. So I went to a conference for allergies, and this lady at the end, I just came up to her and I asked her, I told her a little bit about my daughter, and I said, what do you think? I know we tried so many different things, and she told me just look it up at tapping. And I didn't know what tapping was at all. So I typed it up, found a course, went on a course, started training into applied. So basic tapping is pressure points, this emotional freedom technique, which release the shock of trauma. So you use pressure point like acupuncture without needles. So starting applying what I've learned, and gradually she's starting easing off, and so headaches starting reducing. And then I learned other technique like eye movement therapy, which is a technique that you can delete the image in the mind if there's a big trauma, that the image stays in your mind. So the image is attached to a feeling, and that feeling creates something in the body. So so we use this too. And gradually, by using all the technique that I was learning, I applied it on my daughter. And it turned out that what happened was, at the time of the accident, the incident, she was actually eating vinegar crisp. And the first allergy that she had turned out to be vinegar crisp, and then additive, and then potatoes. And then what happened was, we used to go swimming twice, 3 times a week, and the incident happened on the way back from swimming. And because they were little, I used to take them swimming, then I used to put them in pajamas, and then they used to have a little sandwich in the car or eat a pack of crisps, and then we used to come home, and then they used to go to bed. And in her own mind, she was, I think, probably, she was just about 4 or 5. She thought that the incident happened every single time we went swimming. So instead of being scared of being of the water or going swimming, her body could not digest the news. And because her body couldn't digest the news, her body digestive system was shutting down. Once we readjust all this, once we actually put back into a subconscious mind that the incident happened only once at a specific time, a specific year, a specific month, and that she was still safe, then within weeks, everything sort of went. And thank God, you know, it's many, many years ago now, and she can eat everything she wants. She has no medications. And after that, I said, okay, well, I've got to believe in holistic therapy, you know, and that's. And then I was helping friends, and gradually, friends said to me, well, you know, you're good at doing this. You should really do it professionally. And this is how gradually I created Fearbusters, and how now I'm helping all those people, children and adults. And so looking back, I can now honestly say that thank God to that incident, because it just opened up a whole new world out there that I didn't know. And then my daughter is actually now a Reiki master practitioner. So she's also using energy technique, and she's also helping other people. So sometimes you don't know something really bad, and I don't wish this on anyone either. An event that feels terrible at the time, and that can really turn your life and change everything. There's still some ways that you can turn it into a positive. And this is what we did also with my daughter Liora. The day before she was rushing to hospital, we were just talking and laughing, and we were just talking about, if we did win the lottery, what would we do with the money? And one of the things she said was, well, I'll buy an ambulance. And the following day, unfortunately, she was in an ambulance. Wow. So while she was in hospital, we opened a Facebook group, and without any explanation, with 2 days, the Facebook group attracted 15,000 people.
Wow.
And we then decided to raise money to create an ambulance, because that was one of the wishes that she said just the day before. So we raised £55,000, and we created an ambulance. It's in the book, the story is in the book. And we didn't manage to raise more to put, you know, like the actual proper ambulance. So what we did was, we decided to transform a Galaxy Ford car into an ambulance, with fully equipped, with a bed, with all the equipment that medical staff needs. And it's going around northwest London, and it's free. It's run by a charity. and in normal time it's used once or twice a day, and now I can't even tell you how many times it's been used with the lockdown. And we put her name on the actual ambulance, and every time that somebody sees it, they take a picture and post it on the Facebook group. So that's how we turned something really bad into helping other people. And so yeah,
incredible story.
the reason why we opened it at the beginning is because people kept on asking us what was happening. So I said, okay, I can't spend time telling people. I'm just going to open a group, and I'm just going to put a post and update people and ask people to pray and to do whatever they can to help us. And over 2 days, it turned out that 15,000 people joined. Now, my daughter was not, she was 20, she knew a few people, she was bubbly and always interacted with people and always talking. And even when she would go to Starbucks for a drink, she would always talk to the person who would serve her and start hearing their story and try to help them. But she wasn't, she didn't know that many people. And this group attracted everyone. It didn't matter what religion, where you were living, what you were doing. People starting giving blood in her name. People started doing things. There's even a picture in my book where kids. She was a teaching assistant also. One of the jobs that she did, and kids on the beach were drawing her name in the sand while she was in hospital. There was like so many different things happen, and
yes.
I mentioned a few things in the book, but that was really surreal. We can't understand it, we can't explain it, but that helped us and supported us, and we turned it into creating this ambulance that is now helping many people. So
yeah, no, fantastic legacy for her to leave behind.
Yes, so I didn't realize at the time, she was only 20, but I didn't realize as a mum how much she has done in those 20 years. It's only looking back after that I realized that she was the youngest holistic therapist qualified in the UK. She already had written a calendar for teenagers and published on Amazon to help teenagers. She's was writing a book also for kids to have a positive mindset, which I will take all the notes and at some point put it together in a book. She had loads of projects. She was like really busy doing things. So I didn't realize. I just thought it was sort of normal, and then I didn't realize actually the amount of stuff that she did in those years.
Yeah.
So it shows that some people will live for many years and not do so much, and some people will just live in a short time, but they will really do everything. But I'm glad I didn't know that was going to happen, because otherwise every year I would have been worried or things like that. But I can really honestly say that I was privileged and lucky that I had her for 20 years, that we had her for 20 years, and that the relationship and the close relationship that we had was beautiful and amazing, but it was just for that short period of time.
So her story will continue to live on and touch the lives of other people in the book as well, won't it? Because as you said, the first half of the book is her story, and then the second half of the book is the techniques that you've learnt and sharing how people can actually use those.
So you got the first part of the book, which is techniques that which is basically, you got the first part, which is the actual story. Then I put a special chapter about grief, and then you got how to start moving forward. So, and the book is basically full of exercise, so you can write in a book. And the reason why I put a separate chapter for grief is because if people are not ready to read the story because it is a sad story, or they're not ready to read the grief chapter, they can go straight and skip that, and they can go straight into how can I move forward and what can I do right now, and they can start doing the exercise, and then they can gradually go back and then read the grief chapter or the story if they feel like it. So it's quite flexible, depending on what's happened in the person's life And it's not just about losing someone. It's about losing your pet. It's about losing your job, losing your home. There's a whole, it's all about a big unexpected event that changed you, and you have to adapt. And it's all about learning about adaptation and learning to be resilient. And I didn't see it. I actually, honestly, didn't see myself like this. It's just because people kept on commenting on my Facebook. They kept on saying, "Oh, you're inspiring," and I was just like, "No, I'm just me." And then I realized that what they meant was the background that I had, the knowledge that I had, was something special that gives me this force to actually, I crash down like a human being. We're all, I'm just not normal, but I know how to get myself up, and that's the difference. There are certain, and that's what's really, and that is why I did this book, is that knowing you need to know certain self-help techniques like first aid. You need to know certain ways that you can, that even if you crash down, say, okay, fine, things are not good, I'm crashing down, I'm allowing myself to, to acknowledging it. But then what is it I can do to literally get back up and get back up even better? And that's what I really wanted to put this book out there.
So where can people buy the book or find out more about your story?
So the book is on Amazon, Amazon UK and Amazon in USA. And you can also email me at lauren@fear-busters.com, or you can look up on my website, which is www.fear-busters.com. And if you have a Kindle app, you can just download the book on a Kindle app.
Okay.
And if you want the hard version, then Amazon has some in stock. I know it was out of stock, but it's been refilled. So good. And also because of the lockdown, it was taking a bit of time for Amazon to get the stock. So
Well, thank you, Lauren, for joining me in the Make It Happen studio today and sharing your story. And it's an incredible story, and amazing that how you've turned it around, really, to make it a difference for other people as well, to be able to support other people in what they're going through. So
thank you very much for allowing me to share it with you, and for inviting me today. And I really hope that it will help many more people, because I think we really need it now. This is a time where and probably in the years to come, because now that this, in the UK, school restarted. I don't know in Spain if they reopen some schools, but now I'm getting feedback about kids worried about the outdoor, not really wanted to actually leave home, or not wanted to get out. So it's, people are going to need more and more to know this first aid kit, to know how I can work on my child, how I can help support my child. So,
no, it's a very positive toolbox for you to put together to help your family.
But thank you very much for your time.
No, and I look forward to meeting you in Spain in the not too distant future.
Definitely. Yes, well, I was organizing coffee mornings and things, and so that's believe me, we all want to go. So yes, definitely. So, especially, I think I feel I like being in Spain, because probably because being French, it's just more familiar, and the language, and it's just more familiar than England. So but I will definitely get in touch with you as soon as we're there. So. Okay.
Thank you, Lauren.
Keep well. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you're a woman who's living in Spain, or a woman who's thinking about moving to Spain, come and join us at costawomen.com. It's completely free to join. Please also come and follow us on YouTube, or listen to our recordings via Spotify. Just look for Costa Women Make It Happen.